Okay, right. I'm going to try and start doing more videos. I'm just going to post online. Probably going to start to make them maybe lunchtime Facebook Live videos. Going to try next week. Going to get some more questions lined up for it. Be pretty pointless me just starting a Facebook Live with no one knowing it's there without any questions from anybody. So if you come across this video, if you can post questions underneath here, and I'll be able to get back to everyone on those. What I will promise, I'm going to put this out there live, so I'm committing myself to it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to reply to every question that we get. Now, whether that be answered live on video, in recorded video, or in text underneath the comment, that's my promise to you guys to come back to every question that's posted on these video threads. So I've got a small list of questions here that I've sort of scoured around in emails and questionnaire forms and things like that. So I'm going to start with spot reduction. This is quite a common question for us. So we get people coming in to us and saying, how do I lose it from my belly? How do I lose fat from my belly? How do I lose it from my bum, my thighs, the backs of my arms, and things like this? The unfortunate answer is we can't spot reduce. So I can't give you an abs crunching program for 30 days and then you will lose body fat from your abs or from the stomach in front of your abs, because it's just not going to happen. When I do answer that question, when someone says to me, I want to lose, say for example, I want to lose body fat from my belly because I want to tone up my stomach. Now, my answer to them would be go do some squats, bench press, deadlifts, and shoulder presses, nice and heavy. The reason for that is we can't spot reduce fat. So there's no point doing a load of ab crunches hoping to release the six pack, shall we say. You're best off doing higher calorie expending exercises that's going to help you put you in a calorie deficit over time, and then unfortunately with patience and consistency that body fat will come off, and therefore the area that you want that body fat to come off will come off in time. Same example with the arms. I can't get you to do a load of tricep exercises and for the fat just to burn off that area. It just doesn't happen, unfortunately. Spot reduction, how to do that, the takeaway is eat less calories than you burn per day. Maybe use some exercise programs like full body workouts, which I am going to get onto in a minute. Some full body workouts, so that helps you expend more calories per day. So unfortunately we can't help you spot reduce, but we can help you remove body fat from the whole body in time with some patience. Coming on to meal plans, again, this is another request where people have come up to us and said, I want a meal plan, can you do me a meal plan? Now, we do have some meal plans for our clients. Now, we don't give these meal plans directly to them. These are just ideas where they can get an idea of structuring the day. They can get individual meal ideas as well. So this book is a 1400 calorie book. It has meals in it. It does give you a shopping list and things like that, and cooking instructions on the meals. Meal plans are not very helpful in a couple of ways. One, just giving you a cookie cutter meal plan. We don't know your food preferences. We don't know when you eat your food. We don't know your daily activity. So we don't know when you sit down and eat, or when it's best for you to comfortably sit down and eat without forcing you into a set period to eat. So for example, we've recently had a client come to us from a previous gym, and she was given it was 5 meals on non-workout days, and she was given 6 meals on workout days. And she was given a very basic meal plan, in the fact that it looked like a standard bodybuilder type diet, where it was basically just chicken, rice, broccoli, and then on non-workout days it was just chicken and broccoli. So that obviously didn't work for her, because it wasn't something that she would naturally do. Now this is where working with people over time gives better results for us, because just giving you a meal plan where it's like 4 meals a day, you eat breakfast at this time, you have lunch at this time, you have a snack at say 3 o'clock, and then you have dinner at 5, 7. What happens if you're in a meeting for 2 hours and therefore you can't get your lunch in on time? So therefore you're going to come out of that meeting, you're going to rush your lunch because you've been told that eating little and often keeps your metabolism high. That's not the case. Dieting for weight loss can be very, very flexible, and it's the media and the media and the fitness celebrities. There's a few very popular people at the moment who just give out bad information or wrong information. So HIIT workouts, actually I'll get onto that in a sec. So meal plans, without knowing someone's daily plan, schedule, dislikes and likes, whether they want to sit down with their family and have a meal, or sit down with their partner in the evening and have a meal, it's very difficult to give someone dieting freedom and get them the results they want that they can then sustain. So the big thing we're about here is education. So it's not just get people into a 4-week, 8-week, 12-week, 16-week program, give them a meal plan, and then say off you go, you're on your own now. Because for us and for what I've seen out there, it just doesn't work in keeping people keeping those results long term. So for example, we've used Louise before and after, or progress photos as I like to call them, on our page quite a lot. How we got that was actually in a very flexible time, or very flexible way of eating. I didn't give her any meal plans. I gave her some meal ideas. Basically, the easiest way was she asked a question, I gave her the answer, she went away, applied it, came back, did it work, yes or no? Yes, it did. Okay, we'll make a small adjustment here. And that's how we got the amazing results that we have done, just purely with more habit-based changes to the nutrition rather than giving a complete overhaul. It's easier that way to make a diet or a nutritional plan work for the individual, to change what they're already doing in small areas without giving a complete overhaul, and scaring people basically that they have to have so many meals a day, which is just out of the norm for them. You can lose, I'm going to come on to it in a sec, but you can lose weight with 1 meal a day, as long as that 1 meal will contain all the calories that you need, and you're not flagging with energy throughout the day. If you're one of these people that can last pretty much all day without feeling hungry, without having energy dips, you can have one big meal in the evening. If you're on 1400 calories, for example, you could have all your 1400 calories in one meal if you want to, if it fits with you. That's not something that I give out to everybody. That might happen. Say, for example, we have a client who has a really busy day, comes along and trains and hasn't eaten. That client's on 1400 calories. So I would just say go and enjoy a very large, healthy to an extent meal after the workout, because they're going to need the calories coming in after the workout. They may not have been able to perform as well as they wanted to within the workout, purely because of the lack of energy in the system already. It's not something the 1 meal a day plan is not something I would give as a long-term thing, but it's part of the flexible plan you can have when you're trying to lose body fat. You don't have to have 5 meals a day, because I was taught it when I was doing my personal training qualification, that keeping your clients, getting your clients eating little and often actually keeps the metabolism high. And like I've already said, that's not the case. There's been no scientific data to prove that actually is true. It's false, basically, which is a little bit of a worry when people come out of personal training school and they've paid for that information, and it's wrong, basically. And I've only learnt that because I've said to myself that I will always learn. I'm always doing courses, always doing more education, and you come across a lot more information doing that. And yeah, little and often just isn't a thing to lose weight. So you can have 2 meals, and I'll get onto that in a sec. You can have 3 meals. Meal plans, just to give people long-term success. Again, meal plans just aren't a good thing to do on a one-off basis. It's best for you to build up your own meal plan through the educational process. It might take a little longer, but you will get long-term results, which is what we're about here at Thirst for Fitness. Tracking calories and macros. You can lose weight without tracking calories and macros. Again, that comes down to more habit-based nutrition. So for that, you can write down all the food that you have per day. You'll have to weigh yourself to see if there's any changes in weight. If your weight is slowly creeping up over time, I'd say over a 2-week period, if you're weighing yourself daily, I would say take some calories out of your day, mainly carbohydrates, because carbohydrates is mostly the macronutrient people overeat on, or find it very easy to overeat on. So for example, if you have chicken and pasta, if you had a large portion of pasta, I would say halve that portion of pasta. So therefore you've halved your carbohydrate intake for that meal, so therefore your calories will come down for that meal. So there's small little habit-based things that you can do along the way, which kind of I've already covered in the meal plans. The good thing about using things like MyFitnessPal and Fat Secret, the one I use personally, is, again, it's more of an educational tool in the fact that you get to, as long as you're not scanning it and then pressing OK, that's it. As long as you're scanning it or searching for it and putting it in and trying to get a mindful connection on, okay, 200 calories of chicken breast looks like that, or it's close to something that you can eyeball very quickly. Over time, you can pretty much do away with the calorie tracker, so the apps tracking daily, to maybe tracking once a week, maybe tracking once a month, so your calories aren't building up over time. They're a very good educational tool. If you want to get really lean, say for example you've got someone who wants to expose their six-pack for a holiday, or they want to step on stage in a bikini or bodybuilding competition, tracking calories will have to come down and be pretty on point on those occasions for those people, purely because if you're looking to get down to, especially for guys, single digit body fat percentage, I don't really like body fat percentages now, but if women want to get sort of mid-teens, early 20s or late teens in their body fat percentage, they will have to be a lot more on point with what they're eating, the calories and the macro breakdown. But if that's not where you want to be, you can be a little bit more relaxed in your tracking approach. So the using the apps is a very handy tool. So again, for example, we've had a number of clients who have told us that they were eating healthy, but they're still gaining weight, or they're not losing weight, but they're eating healthy, and they don't put the connection together between overeating healthy food and eating in a calorie deficit. So basically I've just told them to go away and track everything they eat for 1, 2, 3, maybe 5 days, to be really honest and religious with themselves in the tracking of their food. Some of them have been quite surprised at how many calories they are consuming when they're completely honest with themselves. So when that happens for us, that's actually a very good sign in the fact that we can now start the educational process of bringing calories down to fit in with more their lifestyle, their approach to things, and start to show them how flexible dieting for weight loss can actually be. So yeah, that's the downside with tracking with calories and macros with apps. You have to be honest with yourself. The minute you don't start putting everything in, you start to, in a way, you start to lie to yourself about how many calories you're consuming. So there is a video that I've done on underreporting. So underreporting is basically not recording all the calories you're consuming. So the video I've done was a BBC documentary. She said that she was consuming on average 1,100 calories a day. Before that, she was saying that she's tried all the diets under the sun. She's just got a slow metabolism, which is why she's not losing weight. That was taken out of the equation when they did a metabolic test on her, and it was shown that her metabolism was fine. There was nothing wrong with it. So then they put her through a week-long test where she was recording the food that she was eating via a written diary and a video diary, and then they did what's called doubly labeled water. So it's basically water with isotopes. You obviously drink it, you pee it out, and then within that urine they can see how many calories you're consuming and how many calories you're burning per day. So she thought that she was eating 1,100 calories. When they did the test with the doubly labeled water, she was actually eating 3,000 calories on average. So there's a massive difference there. I think they said it was about 43% difference between what she thought she was eating to what she was actually eating. That's the reason why she was not losing weight or gaining weight, was because she was just underreporting. Now, there's two sides to that. You're either underreporting knowingly, so that's people who are tracking their food and eating something and they're consciously not putting that in on their diary or in their apps. Then you have people who are unknowingly underreporting, and those people are, for them it just a little more education needs to happen. So those people who are unknowingly underreporting, just they're not having a full they're not being completely honest with themselves, but they don't realize that they're not doing it. So for example, in an office and someone brings in donuts or some form of sweet type food, and you just pick one small one, and you're not, because it's only a small thing, you don't think that it's worth putting in the app, where those small things do add up quite a lot. Even coffees with milk in, even though if you're having one a day, it's probably not much of a deal, but when you're having 2, 3, 4, 5 a day and you're putting sugars and milk in, those small calories per drink will add up. So being honest with tracking is the best way. Slimming World and Weight Watchers. These programs, it's very strange when I see some of the things, especially Slimming World, some of the things that they say, their rules to their method. So taking a step back, you have the dieting principle at the bottom. So the dieting principle to lose weight is a calorie deficit. There's no other way around it. That's how you lose weight. Then on top of that, you have your method. So you can have 1,000,001 ways to lose weight, as long as that is adhering to the principle underneath. So with Slimming World and Weight Watchers, they are they're not educating people. They have a social support, which is a good thing, but the support you get is again non-educational. I've heard a number of stories from clients here who have gone to Slimming World and Weight Watchers. You have overweight reps, as I call them, so the person hosting those Weight Watchers and Slimming World slimming clubs, they overweight themselves. I've actually heard a couple of stories where the person hosting the social meetings or the weigh-ins has been quite patronizing. They have no real nutritional education, so that's a negative, and their rules to their methods. So for example, Slimming World, they have free foods, and unless they've changed it recently, one of the free foods was white potato. So you can have as much white potato as you want on their plan and you still lose weight. Now, I can kind of see why they have chosen white potato, but saying it's a free food just doesn't work. So white potato on some experiments and some studies and research has been shown to fill people up for longer. So I can kind of understand how and why they've said white potato is a free food, because if it's going to fill people up for longer, the long-term effect of filling people up on white potato should stop them eating later on in the day. What the issue is how many people just have white potato on their own. People are going to have cheeses, people are going to have butters, mayonnaise, and obviously meats as well to eat with it. So if someone's going to have a large potato, they're probably going to throw some butter, some cheese, say for example some tuna on top, and the total calorie volume of that meal is going to be quite high. So it just doesn't work that way. On the flip side of that, so I actually went out on Saturday and I bought one of Joe Wicks's cookbooks. So I went out and bought that. I've been knocking the guy for a while, and I thought I'd actually go and get one of his books and read it. That statement there is just not true. Sorry to say, but that statement there makes no sense at all. And another one of his statements is HIIT is one of the most effective tools for burning body fat. Again, that's not true either. It's the only benefit to HIIT training, high intensity interval training, is purely saving time. It's not a benefit to burning fat. It's not a benefit to building muscle. It's just a very good exercise tool to getting a lot of work in a short period of time and helping increasing the calories. So if you're not in a calorie deficit, high interval training will not help you at all. So going through some of these, they're good ideas, and you will have to do a lot of manual adjusting to them. So for example, speaking of tuna, that one meal there I've worked out to be 821 calories. Now if I gave one of my clients, if I gave that for them to eat twice a day, they'll be in a calorie surplus and they'll put on weight. It doesn't matter how healthy that is. So again, serves one, all the ingredients there, 821 calories. Again, there's a lot of misinformation out there. Slimming World Weight Watchers, they're one of obviously the biggest, or two of the biggest names out there that are giving out really bad weight loss advice. Unfortunately, Joe, with possibly started out wanting to give good intentions on the good advice he gives, has actually given out not so good advice. So another thing we come across is people who overeat. That's a simple one. But when they're in a dieting phase and a social event comes up, or a partner out of the blue says, right, we're going out for dinner, and they overeat, or it's a stressful day at work and you get home, and as some of our clients have called it, they've called it a fuck it attack, where it's just been a really bad day, they've opened up a bottle of wine, they've gone for a takeaway, and yeah, they then think, fuck it, I'm gonna start again next Monday, and it's a Wednesday, so you've got all those days there where you can overconsume again and really start to push back a lot of the work that you've already done. So one thing that I would say in unplanned overeating times would be to do what's called a calorie borrowing. So let's say it's an unplanned event and you guess that you overate by about 1,000 calories. So what you could do is you could take 500 calories out of the next 2 days so that your weekly calorie intake hasn't changed. You can spread that out over 4 days and have 250 calories off. So that's an unplanned way of making up for over-consuming calories the next couple of days. You don't have to say fuck it and then wait a couple of weeks or the next week to start again. You can bring it all back in. If you've got a planned social event, something that we say here is for people to cut back on some of the calories leading into the event. So for example, you're going out with friends on a Saturday night, you can roughly work out what you would normally eat, and maybe give yourself a little bit of a buffer room as well. So what you can do is take some calories off the days leading to, say for example Saturday night, take some calories off during the week, reserve like 1,000 calories, and then if you need to, you can take calories off the days after as well to bring the calories, so over a 2-week period you're still consuming the right amount of calories to lose weight. There's ways and means around unplanned splurges, overeating, so if that does happen, there's no need to panic or anything. It can still be brought in. Obviously those types of events will still have an effect at slowing things down, but if you want to go out and do those things and enjoy life, you can. It will just take a little bit longer. So dieting for weight loss doesn't have to be as restrictive as a lot of people make it out to be. And talking of methods of keeping to a calorie deficit, intermittent fasting. So this is another method that has gotten a lot of movement lately. There's nothing special about it. Fasting, if it does do anything special in the short term, so for example, if it's going to help you a little bit each day, it's going to be very marginal. Intermittent fasting is a handy tool to adhere to a calorie deficit. So people who are forcing breakfast because they hear breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Again, it's not. You can have your first meal of the day whenever you want it and not have any negative effects on putting on body fat. So if you are, say for example, a working mother who needs to get the kids ready for school, needs to get ready for work, and in the mornings just seem like a massive panic and rush, and because you've been told that breakfast is the most important meal of the day, you feel as if you have to eat something. So basically you're eating on the move, you're forcing toast in your mouth whilst you're putting the kids in the car and things like that. The good thing with an intermittent fasting approach is that you can just not have breakfast. Your first meal of the day could be lunchtime, it could be mid-afternoon, and your next meal could be in the evening when you sit down with your partner to have dinner. So intermittent fasting, the standard is 16-8. So you fast for 16 hours and then you eat all your calories within the 8-hour window. You're still eating your calories, so you can't overconsume calories. Say, for example, if someone is on a 1400 calorie plan, they could split that into 2 meals. So that first meal could be, let's say, mid-afternoon. The next meal could be in the evening with dinner, family and friends. So therefore, that 1400 calorie day, you've got that amount per, not that per meal, but you've got that amount for 2 meals. So therefore, your meals could be a lot bigger than having 5 small meals, equating up to 1400 calories. So that's a handy way for busy people, really. The downside to that is some people that we've come across here do need some form of breakfast because they just feel as if they just don't have the energy, they don't have the cognitive function to think in the morning, which is fine. Intermittent fast is not for everyone. It's just a tool to adhere to the calorie deficit. That's all. Nothing special about it. Although there are a lot of people promoting intermittent fasting as like a magical tool, like they're doing the ketogenic diet at the moment. But yeah, anyway, exercise wise, so in Joe's book, he's basically done what I would call more of a bodybuilding training split than anything else. So doing a training session where you're doing, I'm trying to find the actual program he's got them written down. So the actual training session, and I can't find it now. Anyway, in one of his books he's got chest and back on one day, arms, then rest, then legs, and then something else, might be cardio on a Friday. So that type of approach, again, that's not the Bash Joe. That is actually a standard. That's what we call a body build, or not bodybuilding, but a body part split. So you're focusing on certain body parts on their own special day. So the reason why I call them bodybuilding part splits is because you can focus all your time. Say, for example, I want to build my arms up. You can focus the training session just on arms, or you can focus it just on legs, or you can focus it just on chest. Depending on where you are with your training history and what you want to achieve, full body workouts might actually work better for you than training body part splits. So for example, a full body workout would be push, pull, you got legs, you got hip hinge, and then you might want to throw some form of ab work in there, or a cardio element to it. So that could be say, for example, squats, deadlifts, like I said earlier, squats, deadlifts, bench press, so that's your legs, squats, deadlifts, so that's also your lower back as well. So all your legs hit in those 2 exercises. You've got your bench press that's going to hit your chest and triceps as well, so that's the back of the arms, a little bit the front of the shoulder. You've got your military press or your shoulder press, which is going to hit obviously shoulders, triceps. You could also throw in there some form of row or pull, so that could be a lat pull down, so that's pulling down from the side, or you can do a bent row with dumbbells, so that'd be your back and biceps. So those 5 exercises there will cover the whole body in a short period of time, and that's one of the in that room in there we have, actually if I just show you, so in that room in there, that's where we do our fat burning First for Challenge sessions, and this room back here is where we do our personal training sessions. The workouts are all full body workouts, so there's no workout in here where we just specialize on arms. There's no real need to focus on that at the moment with the majority of people that come in here, purely because fat loss is the main goal. So a lot of the exercises anyway are hitting arms indirectly rather than doing bicep curls and tricep pushdowns. So we use, again, coming back to what I said at the beginning, we use compound movements mostly to hit most or more muscle groups in one move than breaking down in lots of small other moves. So again, depending on where you are, if you're starting out fairly new, it's probably, I'd say, 2 years of good lifting weights would be a good amount of time to stay on full body workouts. Even past then, full body workouts are still going to be very effective for you for fat loss and muscle toning. I'm going to add another one on here actually. So lifting weights, another thing we hear a lot is women will fear lifting weights because they will get big and bulky. That is purely not the case. You will be quite surprised at how much weight you can lift, and you'll just tone up the muscle. So you can get very strong without putting on a lot of muscle. Now, I really wish it was that simple to put on muscle, because I wouldn't have the issue of my arms. My arms would be a lot bigger than what they are. So it's very difficult for me to put on muscle. It's actually, if you were looking at putting on muscle, time versus reward, and you're looking at it as an investment point of view, it wouldn't be a very good investment. So for example, for me, because of the amount of time I've been lifting, I think if I was to get everything right, get all my calories right, my protein, carbs and fats right, get all the training at the right intensity, I think now the most I can gain per month would be 0.2, I think it's 0.2 or 0.2 kilos of muscle a month. So that's at the higher end of things, and that will be only if everything's bang on. So gaining muscle is a very, very slow, painful process for guys with fairly high testosterone. Women, you can get quite a very good fat burning effect by lifting heavy weights, which will also help you tone your muscles as well. Personally, I'm not a fan of the word tone, purely for the fact that tone for me means losing body fat and gaining muscle, a little bit of muscle. So tone for me would be to bring out the muscular shape. So yeah, tone is for me is just to lose body fat around the muscle, gaining muscle, so then you start to see the shape through the skin, basically. So yeah, women, I would say, don't worry about lifting heavy weights. In fact, that will benefit you more than spending time on a cardio machine for an hour, because that's not going to turn up your arms anyway. Vegan diet. So I had a fairly long conversation with someone on Saturday or Friday, and we've had quite a few vegans and vegetarians come through here, obviously. Now, there's nothing wrong with people going on those diets for ethical reasons and moral reasons, but when people turn to those diets because they've been told that it's healthier, unfortunately that's not the case. And there's been quite a big increase of people turning to a vegan diet purely because of a program called What the Health. I haven't seen the program, I've heard a lot about it, and quite frankly I wouldn't waste my time watching it. It has a biased opinion, and the main outcome they want on that program is for its audience to become vegans. Their arguments for turning to vegans are, again, very biased, very misleading, completely wrong, and their comparisons are laughable, to say the least. Vegans and vegetarians, they have an issue with protein coming in. So the non-vegan women here, when we give them their protein targets or protein range to aim for, a lot of them find that hard to hit, even with meats. So with a vegan diet, having to work on plant-based proteins and getting that in does add an element of difficulty to a weight loss plan or a dieting plan. Saying that, it's not impossible, it just means there's a lot more planning involved in comparison to a meat-eating based diet. So that's one thing that I would say if you're a vegan or a vegetarian, going through the apps and seeing if you're getting an adequate amount of protein in would be the first thing I would say. If not, and you physically can't eat anymore, that's when I would say turn to things like protein powder, like whey protein powders. They're safe, they're byproducts of cheese, so they're not as processed as people make them out to be. They're not as unhealthy. In fact, whey protein has actually been shown to be very healthy for a lot of people. All it's going to do is give you the protein calories. So whether you choose your plant-based proteins or pea proteins or hemp proteins, I would say the first recommendation would be on a vegan diet just to track your macros, track your protein, see how much protein you are getting in, and then see where you can add extra protein in. The other downside to a vegan plan is the fact that meat-based proteins are what we call complete proteins, so they have the full amino acid structure. Whereas with the majority of plant-based proteins, they are missing at least one of the amino acids, so they're not complete proteins, they're incomplete proteins. The best thing to do would be to have a mixed protein source of your on your vegan plan. So you're going to try and complete the proteins over the day rather than per meal. So I hope that was helpful. That has been 42 minutes of me ranting on 9 topics. I hope that's been helpful. Like I said at the very beginning, if you have any questions, please post them below this video. My promise to you, again, promise putting it out there, is that I will reply back to every question that we get in one form or another. And enjoy the rest of your Monday.